After completing the scapula, we are now going to move to the humerus. The head of the humerus, as you see there, articulates with the glenoid fossa of the scapula. Okay, so looking at your study guide, well, first of all, let's look at the humerus, right? Anterior view. I'll go to a posterior view. You know that the humerus, that this round feature here called the head, right? This feature here called the head of the humerus is going to face medially because that's the only way that it can articulate with the scapula. However, how do you tell anterior from posterior? Right? This is the anterior side, and that is the posterior side. How can you tell the difference? Well, if you look at the anterior side and you look at the posterior side, and I just said that backwards. If you look at the anterior side shown here and the posterior side, they look very different. Notice that on the proximal end, on the anterior side, you have two projections. The superior-most one is called the greater tubercle, and the inferior one is called the lesser tubercle. It's smaller and it's not quite as superior. Notice that on the posterior side, you only have the greater tubercle. So that's an easy way to distinguish between the two. So now I'm going to put my pins in here. Let me move this over. All right, so that's the head of the humerus, which you have to know. Here is the greater tubercle, and then down here is the lesser tubercle. Now I'm going to swing a little laterally here, right? And I want you to notice about midway down, we have this raised area, this raised sort of ridge of bone. That is called the deltoid tuberosity. Your deltoid muscle rounds out your shoulder and it attaches to the humerus right there at the deltoid tuberosity, and that's where it gets its name. Okay, so on the proximal end of the humerus, again, we have the head of the humerus. We have these two projections or processes, the greater tubercle and the lesser tubercle. Then moving distally to about midway down, we have the deltoid tuberosity where the deltoid muscle attaches. All right, so now we're going to continue to move distally. I'm going to move my pins for a moment. I want you to notice that at the distal end of the humerus, you have two little rounded projections, one on the medial side, one on the lateral side, and then you have a little depression there called a fossa. You're going to learn quite a few fossa, and I tell students to remember, try to remember fossa by Mufasa from The Lion King. So fossa, ooh, say it again. Fossa, ooh, say it again. Anyway, let's look at those two bumps there, right? So on the medial side, so this is the side that faces the body, you have what's called the medial epicondyle. A epicondyle is a condyle or rounded process that is above or upon a condyle, and you've got two condyles down here which you don't have to know, just know that those are condyles, and because this is a condyle that's above or upon those condyles, it's called an epicondyle. The medial epicondyle, you can actually feel that on your elbow, so touch the medial side of your elbow. That is the medial epicondyle that you are feeling. It's also known as your funny bone. On the opposite side, on the lateral side, you have the lateral epicondyle. And again, you should be able to feel that right at your elbow. Medial epicondyle and lateral epicondyle. Those are those two little rounded structures which you felt all your life, had no idea what they were. Lastly, I'm going to magnify a little bit. This depression right here is called the coronoid fossa. I'm going to remove the pen for a second so you can see it. Then I'm going to bring the pens back. That is the coronoid fossa. Okay, I believe that is everything. Let me check my study guide real quick. Yep, I do believe I covered everything. I'll go back over it really quickly though. So, head of the humerus, greater tubercle, lesser tubercle, deltoid tuberosity, and then here at the distal end we have medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle, and, if I can get to it, the coronoid fossa, which you can't see as well here. Right, here it is, coronoid fossa.